We've all done it before. An essay or a programming project that's due 3 months from now. We think to ourselves that we have so much time to get things done. A month goes by and we don't make any progress on the project, but we make a mental note to get started on it soon. Another couple of weeks go by and we make some progress on the project, but we don't really sink our teeth into it. Suddenly, just 1 week is left and we're panicking about the deadline. And then a couple of days before the deadline, we devote all of our time and energy into just accomplishing this one specific project that we thought we had so much time for. And then we end up producing something that may or may not be our best work. And then the cycle repeats itself over and over and over again with every project that comes. This, my friends, is the process that is called procrastination. And I'm sure it's one that everyone here is familiar with. In this video, we can go over why we procrastinate and what we can do to combat these triggers for procrastination. First, let's talk about why people procrastinate in the first place. Contrary to popular belief, you don't procrastinate because you're unmotivated or you're lazy. You don't procrastinate because you don't have the time. You procrastinate because your brain is wired to do so. There are many scientific explanations as to why people procrastinate, but based on everything that I've read, I can condense all of it into 3 simple things. The first reason that people procrastinate is Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Essentially, what that means is, if we give ourselves a deadline of 3 months, then our minds will automatically program itself to think that it requires 3 months to accomplish a specific task. It's something innate and it's something instinctive. And if you want to change it, then it's something you have to consciously program. The second reason that people procrastinate is something that I call the comfort gene. Many years of evolution has programmed our minds to always stay away from situations of discomfort and pain or displeasure. The reason our minds program us to stay away from these things is because they can be potentially harmful or painful. So whenever we receive a task that's uncomfortable to accomplish, the initial instinct of the brain is to put off doing that task for as long as possible. In order to overcome this, you need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the third reason that people procrastinate a lot is a high barrier to entry for productivity. A lot of the time, people don't actually struggle with getting work done. They struggle with getting started. Completing a task is a lot easier than starting a task. And this is what leads to procrastination. Unfortunately, there are so many people who have routines and setups and habits that are what I call high barriers to entry when it comes to productivity. It's a high barrier to entry, meaning they make it difficult for themselves to even get started on working. Ultimately, the goal for any productivity routine to eliminate procrastination is to decrease the friction that keeps you from getting started on what you're supposed to do. So just to rehash, the 3 main reasons why people procrastinate are Parkinson's law, the comfort gene, and the high barrier to entry for productivity. And in this video, I'm going to give you 2 specific hacks that are designed to tackle each reason for procrastination. First, how do we tackle Parkinson's law? The first thing that you can do to tackle Parkinson's law is to devote deep work time blocks to a specific project. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much work you get done. What's more important is how much time you actually devote to getting something done. Even doing something as simple as dedicating 2 hours every day to the accomplishment of a specific project can help you battle procrastination. And you can even double your efficiency for productivity when you go into a state of deep work. I've actually talked about deep work in a previous video. If you haven't seen that yet, I'm going to link it down below. Deep work is a very powerful tool that you can use to get as much work done in as least amount of time as possible. The second hack that you can do to combat Parkinson's law is to give yourself artificial deadlines or milestones. Break your project down into different levels or stages and give yourself a deadline for these levels. And pay the price if you miss a specific deadline. For example, if you're writing a book, you can tell a friend that you're going to treat them to dinner if you don't complete a chapter within 7 days. It really helps when you have an accountability buddy to help you stay honest with the work that you're doing. Or maybe if you're a freelance graphic artist, you can donate a set amount of money to charity if you don't meet a specific deadline for a project that you're working on. By breaking your project down into different milestones, you're giving yourself a series of deadlines. This is going to help you stay on track so that you are always on time with the overarching project as a whole. Next, we're going to try to tackle the comfort gene. The first thing that you can do to make yourself more comfortable with being uncomfortable is to break down your projects into simpler tasks. It can be very uncomfortable and overwhelming to look at your projects in its entirety. But once you break down those projects into tasks, then they become a lot easier and simpler to stomach. A project is any endeavor that is in service to your greater goals. For example, publishing a video is a project that serves your goals as a content creator. Finishing a machine project in Python is a project that serves your greater goal of graduating as a comp sci student. Any endeavor that can be broken down into 3 or more specific tasks can be considered a project. I'm going to come out with a video soon breaking down the concept of project management and task management, so stay tuned for that. It's so much easier to say that you're going to finish an initial script for your video as opposed to saying that you're going to publish an entire YouTube video. It's so much easier to say that you're going to accomplish the task of defining a function in Python as opposed to just completing the entire project as a whole. Your brain becomes more comfortable with handling tasks as opposed to bigger projects. Another hack to get over the comfort gene is to give yourself rewards. Motivation isn't always going to be there for you, and you aren't always going to be inspired to work. This is why you must always find ways to manufacture that motivation whenever it refuses to show up. Even something as simple as rewarding yourself with 30 minutes of video games after 2 hours of deep work can be really effective. It can go a long way in helping you become more comfortable with the work that you're actually doing. And the more that you do this, you're programming your brain to actually become more comfortable with taking on these difficult tasks and projects. When you reward yourself, it triggers the release of a hormone called dopamine in your brain. And this is the hormone that's responsible for the formation of habits. So by doing this consistently, you're programming your brain into getting more comfortable with actually sitting down and being productive. Over time, you will develop a higher tolerance for being productive and actually doing work to the point wherein you won't even notice that discomfort anymore. And lastly, we're going to discuss the 2 hacks to help you with your high barrier to entry. The first thing that you need to do to overcome the high barrier to entry is to equip yourself with the tools and the space that you need to actually be productive. Your physical environment can play a very big role in helping you get started on your work. It's so hard to get into the mood to write when you're sitting in an uncomfortable chair. You won't be in the mood to film a YouTube video if you're having to think about having to move all of the lights around and having to set up your camera and your microphone and all of that. But if you have everything set up properly and if you have a space that's conducive for you to actually get work done, then you're decreasing that barrier to entry and you're decreasing that friction that's keeping you from getting things done. And for the last hack that I'm going to be talking about today, it's quite simple and some of you might even call it stupid, but it's quite effective in its approach as well. And it's called the 3-2-1 rule. Again, as stupid as this concept might sound, it's actually been proven to be very effective. A lot of the time when you sit down to work, you will restrain yourself from doing actual work because it just seems so hard. Again, the barrier to entry for being productive is so high. But you can lower that barrier to entry by merely accomplishing another simpler and easier task first. And this is where counting yourself down, 3, 2, 1, comes in. The way that it works is that when you sit down and actually have to get started on your work, count yourself down first. 3, 2, 1. The reason that this is so effective is because counting is such an easy task that you can accomplish regardless of wherever you are or whatever mood you're in. After counting yourself down, you gain that sense of accomplishment of having actually achieved a very simple task, and that will give you the momentum that you need to just continue on being productive. Of course, you can replace the 3-2-1 hack with another easy task like making your bed or preparing yourself a cup of coffee. Those are all good suggestions, but there's something just so quick and easy about just merely counting yourself down. 3, 2, 1, go, and you're ready to work. It activates certain parts of your brain by telling it that it's time for focus and concentration. Again, I know it's rather simplistic, but try it. You'll be surprised at how effective it can be. There are so many more hacks to procrastination out there, I can't possibly cover all of them in one single video. I'm going to be coming out with more content soon about productivity, so please stay tuned for that. Please subscribe to my channel so that you stay updated for every release. And if you liked what you saw in this video, please do smash that like button. It would really help a growing channel like mine, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope to see you around again soon.